Hare Krishna. We'll start a short nectar devotion reading, maybe 20 minutes here. Start on chapter 4. Devotional service surpasses all liberation. This is a summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, given to us by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Ki Jai. How much a devotee is seriously attached to the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood from the statement of Maharaj Prithu, Ariraj, which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 20th chapter, verse 24. He prays to the Supreme Personality of Godhead thus, quote, "My dear Lord, if after taking liberation I have no chance of hearing the glories of your Lordship, glories chanted by pure devotees from the core of their hearts in praise of your lotus feet, and if I have no chance for this honey of transcendental bliss, then I shall never ask for liberation or this so-called spiritual emancipation. I shall simply pray, always pray, unto your Lordship that you may give me millions of tongues and millions of ears, so that I can constantly chant and hear of your transcendental glories." The impersonalists desire to merge into the existence of the Supreme, but without keeping their individuality. They have no chance of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. Because they have no idea of the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord, there is no chance of their chanting and hearing of his transcendental activities. In other words, unless one is already beyond liberation, one cannot relish the transcendental glories of the Lord, nor can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. A similar statement is found in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, 14th chapter, verse 44. Shukadeva Goswami addresses Parikshit Maharaj there and says, "The great soul, King Bharata, was so much attached to the service of the lotus feet of Krishna that he easily gave up his lordship over the earthly planet and his affection for his children, society, friends, royal opulence, and beautiful wife. He was so very lucky that the goddess of fortune was pleased to offer him all kinds of material concessions, but he never accepted any of these material opulences." End quote. Shukadeva Goswami praises this behavior of King Bharat very highly. He says, quote, "Any person whose heart is attracted by the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Madhusudana, does not care even for that liberation which is aspired by many great sages." What to speak of material opulences? In the Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, 11th chapter, verse 25, there is a similar statement by Vritrasura, who addresses the Lord as follows. "My dear Lord, by leaving your transcendental service I may be promoted to the planet called Dhruvaloka, the pole star, where I may gain lordship over all the planetary systems of the universe. But I do not aspire to this, nor do I wish the mystic perfections of yoga practice, nor do I aspire to spiritual emancipation. All I wish for, my Lord, is your association and transcendental service eternally." This statement is confirmed by Lord Shiva in Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, 17th chapter, verse 28, wherein Lord Shiva addresses Sati thus, "My dear Sati, persons who are devoted to Narayana, Krishna, are not afraid of anything. If they are elevated to the higher planetary systems, or if they get liberation from material contamination, or if they are pushed down to the hellish condition of life, or in fact in any situation whatever, they are not afraid of anything. Simply because they have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Narayan, for them any position in the material world is as good as another." There is a similar statement by Indra, the king of heaven, in Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, 18th chapter, verse 74. There Indra addresses Mother Diti in this manner, "My dear mother, persons who have given up all kinds of desire are simply engaged in devotional service to the Lord know what is actually their self-interest. Such persons are actually serving their self-interests and are considered first-class experts in the matter of advancing to the perfectional stage of life." In In the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, verse 25, Maharaj Prahlad says, quote, "My dear friends born into atheistic families, if you can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, then there is nothing more rare in this world. In other words, if the Supreme Lord Krishna is pleased with you, then any desire you may have within the core of your heart can be fulfilled without any doubt. As such, what is the use of elevating yourself by the results of fruitive activities, which are automatically achieved in all events by the modes of material nature? And what is the use for you of spiritual emancipation or liberation from material bondage? If you are always engaged in the chanting of the glories of the Supreme Lord and always relishing the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, then there is no necessity for any of these." By this statement of Prahlad Maharaj, it is clearly understood that one who takes pleasure in chanting and hearing the transcendental glories of the Lord has already surpassed all kinds of material benedictions, including the results of pious fruitive activities, sacrifices, and even liberation from material bondage. So it's our fruitive activities that bring about our material bondage, and within the scope of those there are negative fruitive activities or positive fruitive activities or sinful activities or pious activities. And for the devotee, for one who's obtained satisfaction from the hearing and the chanting of the Lord's holy name, he's beyond wanting to enjoy the fruits of his own works. He's even beyond that, beyond the sacrifices and the liberation, which is free from bondage, which gets him out of this material predicament that he's in of birth, death, disease, and old age, which gives him a sort of spiritual emancipation. For the devotee, it's all the same, whether he stays here or whether he goes out beyond this world, whether he goes to the hellish planets, the heavenly planets, the spiritual planets. It's all the same. If we can't remember the name of the Lord, if we can't remember his glories, his form, his sweetness, if we can't remember these things, then what's the point of any kind of so-called result? Why would I seek that out? Because actually that's not a result. That's condemnation or damnation. So it's nice. It's really nice. Similarly, in the same 7th canto, 8th chapter, verse 42, when the demigods are offering prayers to Lord Nrsimha, Indra, the King of Heaven, says, "O Supreme One, these demons talk of our share of participation in the performances of ritualistic sacrifices, but simply by your appearance as Lord Nrsimhadev, you have saved us from terrible fears." Hare Krishna. Actually, our shares in the sacrificial performances are due to you only, because you are the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices. You are the super soul of every living being, entity, and therefore you are the actual owner of everything. Long were our hearts always filled with fear of this demon, Hiranya Kashipu. Excuse me. You are so kind toward us that by killing him you have removed that fear from within our hearts and have given us the chance to place your lordship within our hearts again. We can understand that they're praying. They're saying that you have removed that fear from within our hearts and given us the chance to place your lordship within our hearts again. But the devotee, what I'm understanding from this is that the Lord was actually never outside of their hearts. They were remembering him and praying to him. All the while, this great demon, Hiranyakashipu, was around, causing such destruction, chaos, and as he went around conquering so many various places. Essentially, the whole universe he conquered, and by no one else's strength could he be defeated due to this great benediction that was granted to him by Lord Brahma, except for the Lord, who is the only one that can remove our fear from within our hearts. Jack. For persons who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of your Lordship, all the opulences which were taken away from us by the demons are counted as nothing. Devotees do not even care for liberation, but to speak of these material opulences. Actually, we are not enjoyers of the fruits of sacrifices. Our only duty is to always be engaged in your service, for you are the enjoyer of everything. And because Krishna is the enjoyer of everything, he can dish it out as he likes. He can give us our ration, so to speak. He's a Suhardam Sarvabhutanam. He's the supreme friend of everyone. In addition to the owner of everything, the enjoyer of all that is, the proprietor, he's also the greatest friend, which is a really great thing for us, because if he wasn't our best friend, if he didn't have that quality, then can you imagine the predicament that we might be in? We're under the control, the inevitable control of a greater supreme source, and this source doesn't have our best interests at mind or at heart. He isn't looking to share his opulences with us. He's maybe inimical towards us. Can you imagine that reality? That would be scary. So it's a good thing for us that not only is he the supreme enjoyer and the owner of all opulences, but he wants to share these opulences with us. And the devotee isn't the one true opulence that the devotee is concerned for always tasting the nectar of is the Lord's association, even in his own absence. The devotee is in such bliss. Ayadina Dayaradra. Ayadina Dayardra Natahi. Maturanath. Maturanata Katava Lokshase. Hridayam Twamaloka Kataram. Dayata Brahmyati Kim Karom Yaham. Our great Acharya Madhavendra Puri prays to the Lord in separation. This was the seed of all love and separation that came into our universe. The seed that fructified and matured in the life of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He prays Madhavendra Puri, the Lord's Param Guru. He prays, "O my Lord, O most masterful, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura, when will I see you again? Because of not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now?" It's very clear as we study this verse and meditate upon it that as it was uttered from the lips of Madhavendra Puri, in which that was actually the last thing he ever spoke, was that verse right there. It's a great example that just imagine the ecstasy that he must have been feeling at that last moment of his earthly manifestation before he passed on. So this is the devotee. He doesn't even need to see Krishna. And actually, if he doesn't see Krishna, but he longs to see Krishna, then he's in greater ecstasies, greater opulences are bestowed upon him. He becomes attractive to everyone because there's no envy there in his life, in his dealings, in the external world. Therefore, he's popular with the gentle and the ruffians. This is spoken about in the Sad Goswami Astakam. So This is the true object to obtain, is remembrance of Krishna. So, keep reading. The purport of this statement by Indra is that beginning from Brahma down to an insignificant ant, no living entities are meant for enjoying the material opulences. They are simply meant for offering everything to the Supreme Proprietor, the personality of Godhead. And by doing so, they automatically enjoy the benefit. The example can be cited again of the different parts of the body collecting foodstuff and cooking them so that ultimately a meal may be offered to the stomach. After it has gone to the stomach, all the parts of the body equally enjoy the benefit of the meal. So again, this is what I was trying to get at, but which Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami give to us so masterfully, is that we're still fed by the serving of the stomach. The hand is fed. The food is, or the food is distributed to the hand. Equally, is it distributed to the foot, or to all the organs? Everything is distributed nicely after it gets put in its right place. So if we do all that we do with the intent of giving it to the Lord, then He'll give it back to us in the right amount that we need, the right amount that we can actually use. Because if we try to give the hand a stomach's worth of enjoyment, then actually it'll just become overwhelmed. I mean, there's no way for that to even happen. It's actually just not possible. But even if it was possible, even if I was God, right, with my, I mean, I'm put into anxiety by these smallest things. I'm shown constantly throughout my day how little how little capacity I have to even just do what's asked of me on a small level. Can you imagine the anxiety that we would have to be God? All the responsibility that would come with that. So the hand, even if it could be fed directly, it doesn't want all that. It can't enjoy it properly. It's not made for it. So neither are we in enjoying the totality of what really belongs to the Lord. But we are in a fortunate position that we do get fed, we do get nourished, and we can continue being maintained even without our desiring or even without our endeavor. We're maintained. So it actually frees us from anxiety completely by accepting our role as a servant. We go to Vaikuntha, even if we're still here in the material world. Actually, we're put into a place with no anxiety, because there's no misunderstanding about our place. I'm not the supreme enjoyer. I'm not the supreme lord of all the planets and the demigods. I'm not everyone's best friend. I can be a friend. I can be a well-wisher to every living entity, but I'm not the well-wisher for every living entity. And that propensity I have to be on good terms with the whole of the world is only because Krishna is always on good terms with the whole of the world. So he's masterfully maintaining these relationships, calling his lost, forgotten souls back to him, and so it's like that. Continuing on. They are simply meant for offering everything to the Supreme Proprietor, the personality of Godhead. By doing so, they automatically enjoy the benefit. The example can be cited again of the different parts of the body collecting foodstuffs and cooking them so that ultimately a meal may be offered to the stomach. After it has gone to the stomach, all the parts of the body equally enjoy the benefit of the meal. So similarly, everyone's duty is to satisfy the Supreme Lord, and then automatically everyone will be satisfied. A similar verse is found in the 8th canto, 3rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 20. Gajendra says, Quote, "My dear Lord, I have no experience of the transcendental bliss derived from your devotional service, so therefore I have asked from you some favor. But I know that persons who are pure devotees and have, by serving the lotus feet of great souls, become freed from all material desires and are always merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss." And let's see, as such, are always satisfied simply by glorifying your auspicious characteristics. For them there is nothing else to aspire or to pray for. In the 9th canto of Bhagavatam, 4th chapter, verse 67, the Lord of Vaikuntha replies to Durvasa Muni, "My pure devotees are always satisfied being engaged in devotional service." And therefore they do not aspire even after the 5 liberated stages, which are 1. To be with me, 2. To achieve residence on my planet, 3. To have my opulences, 4. To possess bodily features similar to mine, and 5. To gain personal association with me. So when they're not interested even in these liberated positions, you can know how little they care for material opulence or material liberation. There is a similar prayer by the Nagapatnis, wives of the Kaliya serpent, in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 16th chapter, verse 37. The Nagapatnis say there, quote, "Dear Lord, the dust of your lotus feet is very wonderful. Any person who is fortunate enough to achieve this dust does not care for heavenly planets, lordship over all the planetary systems, the mystic perfections of yoga, or even liberation from material existence. In other words, anyone who adores the dust of your lotus feet does not care a fig for all the other perfectional stages." There is a similar statement in the 10th canto, 87th chapter, verse 21, where the Shrutis, the Vedas personified, pray to the Lord as follows. "Dear Lord, it is very difficult to understand spiritual knowledge. Your appearance here, just as you are, is to explain to us this most difficult subject of knowledge and spirit. As such, your devotees, who have left their domestic comforts to associate with the liberated acharyas, are now fully merged in the devotional service of your lordship, and thus they do not care for any so-called liberation. In explaining this verse, it should be noted that spiritual knowledge means understanding the self and the supersoul, or super-self. The individual soul and the supersoul are qualitatively one, and therefore both of them are known as Brahman, or spirit. The knowledge of Brahman is very difficult to understand. There are so many philosophers engaged in the matter of understanding the soul, but they are unable to make any tangible advancement. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that out of many millions of persons, only one may try to understand what is spiritual knowledge. And out of many such persons who are trying to understand, only one or a few may know what is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this verse says that spiritual knowledge is very difficult to achieve. So in order to make it more easily attainable, the Supreme Lord himself comes in his original form as Sri Krishna and gives his instruction directly to an associate like Arjuna, just so that the people in general may take advantage of this spiritual knowledge. This verse also explains that liberation means having completely given up all the material comforts of life. Those who are impersonalists are satisfied by simply being liberated from the material circumstances. Those who are devotees can automatically give up material life and also enjoy the transcendental bliss of hearing and chanting the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna. Okay, well, in there. Hare Krishna.